Hi guys, we are doing our spinal rotation and thoracic extension flow. You won't need any equipment, so just come and lie on your fronts. Okay, so start lay on your front, and we're just gonna work on our connection first of all. So position wise, our elbows want to be in line with our ears and the forearms are in a diamond shape, so they're pointing towards each other. The middle finger is in line with the forearm, so we don't want the wrist to be kicking out to the side or coming inwards. And then connection wise, we should be feeling it underneath the pubic bone, underneath both elbows on the medial side, underneath the hands at the minute, and also the front of the head. So what we want to try and do now is get better connected, because what you might be feeling is that your pubic bone isn't as connected, but you might be feeling that your lower ribs are pressing into the floor. Okay. Oh, and I also forgot your thighs. You're going to be feeling it underneath the front of both your thighs. So we're going to start with our tilting our pelvis backwards and forwards. So pulling the pelvis into a posterior position and then taking it forwards into an anterior position. You want to try and use the core muscles to do this. So what you don't want to be doing is, as you're tilting your pelvis, for your glutes to be switching on, your hamstrings, your quads, your calves to be switching on, so your legs go really tight. So we want to be using the core muscles to do this movement, so forwards and backwards. So when you come into a neutral position, so the midway between those two end ranges, you should feel like your pubic bone gets better connected with the floor. So if you feel like you're not connecting with the floor, you're probably in more of an anterior pelvic tilt. So we want to just scooch the pelvis backwards slightly into a neutral position, and your pubic bone is going to press down into the floor. Then the rib cage, so like say that lower rib cage might feel like it's pressing down into the floor, but what we want is the same position as when we're laying on our backs. We want to think of the ribs and pelvis like the pages of a book. So we want the pages to be closed, we don't want them to be open, because with that open book you'll have rib flaring and you'll have lumbar extension, and you'll probably be feeling those ribs pressing down into the floor. So we want to pull the ribs and pelvis into connection, and the rib cage will lift away from the floor, so it won't be pressing down into the floor anymore. Okay, and then we're going to go to the shoulders. So the shoulders want to be active. So we want to externally rotate and depress the shoulders. So shoulder blade goes down towards the back pocket. And we want to have equal pressure between the left and right forearm and elbow. So just shift the weight slightly until you feel like you've got that equal connection. And you're going to push your elbows down into the floor. That medial elbow is going to push down into the floor. And the head, so what we don't want is for the neck to be an extension. We don't want the chin to be tucked in. So the neck wants to be neutral. Eyes face straight down to the floor. Okay, so once we've got our connection, we want to just start to work on getting our breath in the right order. So we want to feel the tummy pressing down into the floor on the breath in, and then lifting away from the floor on the breath out. So we're just trying to get the breath in the right order first of all. So we don't want to feel like the chest is pushing down to the floor. So it's all in the abdomen, all the tummy. Breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth, through pursed lips. Imagine you're blowing through a straw. And we're just trying to keep those shoulders active at the minute. Don't let them start to ride up by your ears. Keep the glutes nice and relaxed. Try not to be tensing those. Don't be tensing your legs. Okay, so once we've got the breath in the right order, it's a bit more tricky than when you lay on your back, but you can, if you feel like you can hold yourself in a good position with your neutral pelvis, you can put your hands around your waist just to try and get that 360-degree breath. But we don't want to let the pelvis tilt into an anterior position, and we don't want the ribs to press onto the floor. So I'm just going to keep my hands where I am, and you've really got to visualize this. So if you're not using your hands around your waist, you're just going to have to really think about it and visualize and just think about what's happening around the abdomen, and think about that outward expansion of all those muscles, 360 degrees, front to back and side to side. Make sure that pubic bone's still pressing into the floor. Make sure the ribs are not pressing down into the floor. And keep pushing the elbows, medial elbow down into the floor. So nice big inflation, 360 degrees. Breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth, through pursed lips. Just a couple more breaths. Okay, so now we've got that 360-degree breath. We want to be creating our brace. So the brace is not a clench, not a tense, and you're not pulling your belly button towards your spine. So we want to, after we've taken a 360-degree breath in, do a little outward push, like we're imagining that we're about to fart. And try not to let the muscles completely relax as you're breathing out. Okay, so just do a couple more these breaths and braces. So we're keeping the muscles active throughout the breath in and out. Creating that feeling like we're imagining that we're about to fart. Okay. So what we're going to do first of all now we've got connection, got the posture, we've got the breath, keep that position, and then you're just going to start to push the floor away with your forearms and those medial elbows and lift your head up off the floor. And what we want to try and avoid is going into lumbar extension and an anterior pelvic tilt. So we want to keep that pelvis and lower back neutral, and we're just trying to push the floor away and lift the top half of the body off the floor. And then once you've got yourself in that upright position, keeping the neck nice and long, don't let the neck go into extension, keeping the shoulders active and keeping the lower back in a neutral position, you're going to start to try and like unravel the top of the spine. So we're trying to extend the upper back down towards the floor. So similar to what we do when we're in the low quadruped and the quadruped position, we're trying to extend and mobilise through the upper back, trying to get away from that curved position, trying to extend that upper back. Imagine you've got a piece of string pulling your upper back down towards the floor, but without letting that lower back extend. If you feel like your lower back is pinching a little bit, then you're probably going into that anterior tilt and lower and lumbar extension. So if you need to, just lower back down, reset, and then just try and extend through the upper back and don't let the lower back go into extension. Whenever you need to have a little rest, just go back down. If your shoulders are getting a bit achy or your elbows are getting sore, well, if you can hold it for a bit longer, we're just going to do 10, 9, 8, keep focusing on that thoracic extension, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then just lower down. Give your shoulders a little shake off, and then go back into that position with the forearms, but you're going to bring one leg up into your 4.5 month prone. So you're bending one hip, bending the knee. So if my left knee is pressing down into the floor, the right forearm's going to be pressing into the floor. We want to keep neutral in the lower back and pelvis, and we're just activating through that supporting shoulder and supporting hip and pelvis, and keep that thoracic extension, and then we're just going to reach and rotate, reach and rotate, reach, rotate, just do a few more on this side. Bring the opposite leg in and then extend the other leg. So now the opposite knee, opposite forearm are going to be pressing into the floor. And then we're lengthening through the spine, keeping lower back and pelvis neutral, and rotate. So up to the ceiling and reach. Keep going. So reaching and rotating. Just do a few more. Okay. Straighten that leg. Bring your hands by your side, by your chest. Make sure you've got that length through the spine, and then we're just going to push up into a 6 month prone. Keep your lower back and pelvis neutral, and keep lengthening through the spine, and then we're just going to shift the weight, so we're hinging the hip into our quadruped position. Keep lengthening through the upper back, and then you're going to flex the hips right back, and then rotate in one direction, and then rotate the opposite direction, and then extend the hip, keep the upper back extended, keep neutral in the lower back, and then into your 6 month prone and slowly lower down, and then come back up and flex the hips. So we're sinking backwards through that quadruped position, hinging all the way, keeping that thoracic extension, nice long spine and long neck. When you get back to your fullest hip hinge, rotate one hand up to the ceiling and then rotate the opposite hand. And you're just going to repeat that now. So in your own time, go through that little sequence. So now extend your hips into your 6-month prone, slowly down, up, maintain that thoracic extension. So just go super slow, really think about that movement, think about mobilizing through the upper back. Keep the shoulders active. When you're in that rotated position, take a breath in, 360-degree breath, and then on the exhalation, try and rotate a little bit further. Just do a few more. And then come into your quadruped position. Find your neutral lower back and pelvis, and shoulders active, and think about that thoracic extension. So we're pulling the upper back down towards the floor without letting the lower back go into extension. Then once you've got that, rotate up to the ceiling with one hand and then back round and underneath. So take that hand as far underneath as you can go. And then just rotating up and round in your own time. Really feeling that rotation through the spine. Again, when you get to that full rotation with the hand up to the top, take a breath in, and then on the exhalation, you're going to try and rotate that little bit further. Swap hands, do the other side. Remember to take a breath in at the top of that rotation, and then on the exhalation try and get that little bit further. Couple more. Okay, so now find your neutral pelvis again, neutral lower back, thoracic extension. Push the floor away with your hands, curl your feet underneath, shoulders active, and lift the knees off the floor. And then hold that position, focusing on that thoracic extension, so pulling the upper back down towards the floor, but push the floor away with your hands so you don't just let your shoulder blades collapse. Hold this position. Keep the neck nice and long, don't let your neck extend. And then start to hinge your hips. So you're pushing your bum backwards. Bum can come a little bit higher into the air. Keep that thoracic extension, that mobilizing through the upper back. And then walk your hands back slowly into your squat. Try and lengthen through the upper back. And then slowly come up. And we're just going to do some squats. So find your neutral. Slowly go down. And then when you're in your squat, try and just rotate your body in one direction and then the other direction. And into the middle and stand. And do that now. So every time you go into your squat, you're lengthening through your upper back and you're rotating one way and then the other. And slowly up. So in your own time, just do that movement now. As well, think about what's happening with your squat. Think about whether you're shifting more to one side than the other. If you are feeling that, try and correct that shift. Going down in the midline. Think about what's happening in the lower back and pelvis. Does it start to tilt forwards or into that lumbar extension? If it does, control it and pull it back into neutral. Just do a couple more. Last one. Put your hands on the floor, walk your hands back out, and then we're just gonna rotate round into a high oblique sit. Lengthen through the spine, bring that top leg back, and then you're going to just go onto your lower oblique sit into a sideline position. Make sure you're stacked up on top of your shoulder, and we want nice straight spine, so we don't want a banana spine. We want the hips at 45 degrees, and we're just going to start to do some spinal rotations again. So start with your palms facing each other. Top hand's going to be further forward than the bottom hand, and then you're just going to pull your hand back along your arm and rotate. Try and get the arm down to the floor. You might not be able to get all the way. We want to keep the knees on the floor, so only go as far as you feel like you can go, keeping your knees on the floor. And you might find that you get a little bit further with each rotation. So keep going in your own time. Keep it nice and stacked on that lower shoulder. Just do a few more on this side. Then you are going to, from this side lying position, we're going to roll onto our back. And then stay on our backs in the 3-month supine position. Feet higher than the knees, ankles neutral, knees over your hips, hips at 90, slightly abducted and externally rotated, meaning your knees are wider than your hips and your feet are narrower than your knees, and we've got that neutral pelvis, neutral lower back. And just focus on that breathing for a second. 360-degree breath, and then just start to do some single leg toe taps. Lengthening through the spine, so we're going to push the head down towards the floor, activating those muscles at the front of the neck, and then start to do double leg toe taps, keeping control of the lower back and pelvis. If your back's not too clever at the minute, carry on just doing single legs, or if you need to, put your feet on the floor and do single legs from the floor. Just do a couple more. And then put your feet on the floor, arms out to the side, shoulders 45 degrees, put hands facing the ceiling, knees together, feet together, and then we're just going to take the knees over one direction and look the opposite way. And then using the muscles on the opposite side of the abdominal wall to what your knees are going, we're going to try and bring the rib cage down towards the floor, bringing the knees back up towards the ceiling, and then you're going to go the opposite way. And do the same on the reverse. So you're pulling the rib cage down towards the floor, knees up towards the ceiling, and we're just rotating the opposite way. So now in your own time, just go side to side. Make sure you take your head the opposite direction to what your knees are going, so you get that full spinal rotation. Feel that nice rotation, that stretch in the spine. Keep focusing on your breath as well, so using your core muscles to bring your knees up towards the ceiling. Don't just flop them over. Just do a few more from side to side. Okay, so back onto your backs, into your supine position, and then we're just going to do some single leg lifts again. So take one leg up, then the opposite. Keeping control of that lower back and pelvis. Keep focusing on your breathing. And then if your back's feeling good at the moment, start to do some double leg lifts. Not letting that pelvis tilt forwards as you lift up and lower down. Keep that neck active, so try not to let the neck go into extension. do a couple more. Bring your legs up into your 3-month supine again, arms out to the side. Then you're going to take your legs in one direction, head's going to go the opposite direction. And again, we want to use the core muscles to pull the rib cage down towards the floor, to bring the knees back. And then go the other way. And we're going side to side. Really thinking about switching those core muscles on to do the work. So keep breathing, 360, keep bracing. Just do a couple more from side to side. Back into the middle, fingertips towards the ceiling, and roll onto your opposite side. Get stacked up on top of your shoulder, hips at 45 degrees, palms facing each other, and then start by taking that top hand a bit further and then rotate round. Again, trying to keep the knees on the floor. So only go as far as you can with your knees staying on the floor. So in your own time, just feeling that nice rotation through the spine. Make sure that you take your hand further forward than the bottom hand to get that extra bit of rotation. Just do a few more of these. And then from the side lying position, we're going to come up into a low oblique sit, up into a high oblique sit, into an oblique sit, and then bring the knees up towards the ceiling, into your tall sit. Take one leg straight, keep the other leg bent, and you're just going to rotate round. So bring that other hand backwards, grab hold of the knee with the opposite arm, and rotate, and just feel that stretch, that rotation in the spine, and just breathe into it. Get more rotation by pulling the knee towards your body, and again take the head round with you so you're getting that full spinal rotation. A few more seconds on this side, and then swap sides. Pull the other leg in, so take the other leg straight. Have a think about whether you feel there's a difference between the right and left side. You might feel different parts of your back stretching. Keep belly breathing, so 360 breath. A few more seconds. Okay, back into the tall sit. Rotate your knees round to one side, and then we're just going to lift up. Take the leg forwards into our tripod position. And And we're going to work on our thoracic extension again. So we're going to think about trying to get out of this rounded position through the upper back. So we want to try and do the reverse of that, pulling that upper back down towards the floor, and then start to hinge the hips backwards, but only go as far as that back knee will allow. And then come back into your tripod, rotate up one way, and then rotate the other way. Back down into your tripod hinge, maintaining that nice long upper back and neck, and then rotate and rotate. So keep doing that on this side. Just do a few more. Keep lengthening through the spine. Keep the neck neutral. Don't extend the head or neck. Come up into your high kneel position. Then we're going to grab hold of the knee with one hand. Rotate round the other way. Hold that position. Think about where you're feeling that stretch. Getting a nice adductor stretch on this one as well by pushing the knee outwards to get more rotation through the spine. Now rotate the other way. Grab hold of the knee and rotate. Back into the middle, into your high kneel. And we're going to do high kneels to stand with rotation when we come down into the high kneel. But first, make sure you've got your position right, so we're not too narrow, foot to the side, pelvis level, neutral spine, knee tracking second and third toe, and stand. And just in your own time now, with a rotation at the bottom of the movement. Make sure you're going nice and steady, nice and slow, so you've got that control of the movement, so that we're not losing that good position, because what we don't want is for you to shoot to the side, knee cave in. We don't want the pelvis to rotate. So nice and steady, nice and slow. Just do a couple more on this side. Okay. Take your hands down to your tripod. Pull that front leg back into your bear and then into your opposite tripod. And we're going to do the same. So we are lengthening through the upper back, trying to think about that mobilizing through the upper back, that thoracic extension, and then we're going to hinge the hip. Just go as far back as you can, as that back knee will allow, and then up and rotate. Just in your own time, do that little sequence. Just do a couple more. Okay, come up into your high kneel, and we're going to rotate round. So grab hold of the inside of the knee with one hand and rotate round the other way. And then look towards that back hand as well. So take your neck with it and your head with it. Rotate the other way. Couple more seconds. And then come into your high kneel again. And we're going to do some high kneels to stand with the rotations at the bottom. So in your own time, make sure you've got your good position. Pelvis level, knee to the, out to the side. Knee tracking second, third toe. Control the movement up and down with that little rotation at the end, at the bottom. Make sure when you come down to your high kneel to rest your foot down, because it will take the pressure off your knee. Just noticing then that if my foot was still curved, curled under, it put more pressure on my supporting knee. Just do a couple more. Last one, and we're done. Right guys, hope you enjoyed that. I will see you all soon. Bye bye.